My thanks there to the Minister of Education in Northern Ireland, John O'Dowd. And those of you who are expecting your A-level results tomorrow, we wish you well. And if you don't get what you want, you heard what the Minister's saying there. There's lots of opportunities within his department. Delighted to be joined by Michaela Wilson, a constable of the PSNI here in Newry. You're very welcome, Michaela.
Thank you.
Suppose we could start right away by looking at the jollification which may happen as a consequence of good results tomorrow. People who are out celebrating, young people, it's a vulnerable time.
Yes, it is. We obviously think if someone has worked very hard for their exams, to go out and celebrate good results is something they should do. But we in Police in Newry would ask that they would do it responsibly. People should think about, plan their night out, so that a good night out doesn't turn into a disaster or something that may affect the rest of their lives.
Absolutely, so and it can so easily happen. You know, at one extreme, it can be the one punch syndrome. A row breaks out and someone throws a punch and the person falls the wrong way.
Yes.
And it's a disaster.
When you mention the one punch syndrome, we roll out an event for our 16 to 18-year-olds in Newry, which highlights actually one punch and how one punch can actually be fatal if someone, as you say, falls the wrong way. That is in the event that a fight breaks out. Obviously, we would like to prevent anything like that happening.
Absolutely. The great courage is to walk away.
Yes, absolutely.
And if you want to fight, come back tomorrow when you're sober.
Yes,
and
exactly.
And then say, I'm much better fighting with you when I'm sober, and you're much better fighting with me when I'm sober. So we'll meet at 12 o'clock, high noon on Hill Street tomorrow.
Yes.
It puts a different complexion on
absolutely,
it. You know?
Absolutely.
So what's this event you roll out in your
It's the one punch event.
How does it work?
Without consent, it's rape. It's on two very important topics that may affect some of our young people as they're growing up. It's an event that we would hold in a host school. We might have 2 or 3 schools attend of the senior level, both male and female, and it explains. The One Punch campaign explains how easily that can happen, how it can be avoided. If you see a friend, for example, who maybe isn't used to consuming alcohol, for example, may become aggressive, take your friend away, take them away from the situation, try and prevent anything like that happening. And in the event something should happen, always seek medical help immediately, phone ourselves.
A bit of shepherding of your company. Be there for them.
Yes,
you know.
Very much so. We still see it, unfortunately, even when these events have been rolled out on a Friday or Saturday evening when we're on the beat in town, we will still sometimes see people wandering home on their own, and that is something we don't want to see. Because
going home alone, you're vulnerable.
Vulnerable, exactly. You may have alcohol in your system, there may be drugs in your system, and you are very, very vulnerable at that point. So we would always say, plan your night out, plan your lift home, stay with your friends, don't let any of your friends go off on their own. Simple things, so that you can have a fun night out, but you can do it responsibly.
Absolutely. Is Newry, once upon a time it was a bit of a jungle at the weekend. What's it like now?
Well, Newry's a thriving nighttime economy, which is great for the city. Yes, there are lots of clubs, and there's a great atmosphere in the city centre over on the weekends, and mostly the evenings pass off fairly uneventfully. However, usually when alcohol is involved, there can be the odd fight or disagreement,
of course.
Fuelled quite often by alcohol. But as a rule, there are lots of police on at the weekends, and generally if something starts, we hope to get it stopped pretty quickly.
Do you still have in Newry these fellows and girls, these community warden people who were out on the streets with you? Do they still exist?
We did have, that was rolled out earlier this year. It was a trial, yes, and it worked quite well, and I believe there may be something planned again for the future with community wardens. They can deal with the lower end of things like littering, etc.
Michaela, you spend a lot of your time, not a lot of your time, but a significant proportion of your time going into schools.
Yes.
And we've heard of one of the things you bring into the schools. What sort of other areas do you cover in the schools?
We cover everything from stranger danger for the little tiny nursery school children, right up to the One Punch campaign, without consent it's rape, general personal safety, internet safety. We cover a wide spectrum, bullying, of things that may affect young people as they're growing up.
Did you have to go back to police college once all of this thing of internet came in and all of this business? Obviously you didn't grow up with it.
No.
It wasn't part of your curriculum when you started in the police those years ago. Is there a facility within the PSNI to bring you back and others like you back to Garnerville and to upgrade you and update you on all the things that are happening?
Yes, well, the police are, as an organisation, very progressive, and they will move with the times. So if there is a need there for someone to retrain in something in Garnerville, they will always try and facilitate that. I'm not aware of a specific programme at the moment, but if I had a wish or a desire to learn something more on a particular topic, there's usually a facility there. Yes, they would.
Yeah. Why did you become a police officer? What were you before?
I was a salesperson before.
What did you sell?
Furniture.
Furniture?
Furniture, yes. I did indeed for 10 years.
So what was the moment? What was that eureka moment when you said, I want to be a cop?
Well, I don't know if you noticed when I come in, Rowan, I'm not terribly tall, so I would have been a police officer many years before.
You're very well distributed.
However, because of the height restriction when I was younger, I couldn't apply.
You weren't 5'8".
So no, I wasn't, far from it. So when the height restriction was dropped, it was something I always wanted to do. Other members of my family and friends are in the police.
Yeah. It's a concept of service.
It's a concept of service, exactly. And when I go out to the schools, I explain to the young people our most important job is to keep you safe.
Yeah.
And to trust us if you are in any danger or fear.
It's that sacred duty almost of protecting life and property.
Yes.
That's what you do.
That is our number one goal. Yeah,
well
absolutely.
Done.
Yes.
Well done. And now looking around at the moment in summertime, there is a propensity for folk to be involved in antisocial behaviour.
Yes.
How does that manifest itself?
Antisocial behaviour can manifest itself in many ways, from lifting traffic cones off the road, putting them on their head, playing about, shouting, littering. And the thing we would say is, please have some consideration for other folk who are maybe not in the party spirit, especially older folk. In Newry, we do have still quite a lot of residential homes quite close to the city centre. And I would ask people just to think that maybe that's their granny or granda in behind that closed door listening to that racket outside and possibly terrified.
God help us, I know it's a minority, but some of the people nowadays, they've already killed their granny or grandfather.
Oh, goodness.
You don't have, I make the point, overly make the point, but sometimes they don't care, right? And they're on the streets causing problem, and even the slightest thing can set an older person off.
Very much so. Very much so. And we would ask them to think about that before they go out. And also, if someone is behaving in a disorderly manner and a police officer notices and has the point to come up and state it to you and tell you to go home, stop behaving the way you are and go home, that's your warning.
Yeah,
take that warning and go, because there could be consequences of not taking that warning that may affect the rest of your life.
You'd be brought before Mr. King.
You may indeed.
And Mr. King would say, you've had 2 warnings already, this time you're going down.
Yes.
He's a very wise man, is Eamon.
Indeed. And as we were talking there, students have been studying very hard for their exams.
Yeah.
Would we really want them to spoil it with one act of that may even be totally out of character for them?
Should folk who operate public houses, should there be a tighter rein on the amount of alcohol people are given?
I think
is there a responsibility on the landlord?
I think there is a responsibility on the landlord to be aware of his customers and the amount of alcohol they're consuming, and if they see someone who has clearly had too much, that they should certainly stop serving at that point. But we have a personal responsibility, Rowan. If you're old enough to go into a bar and order a drink, you should know your limits. Yeah.
All my drinking does to me, it kind of makes me romantic. My bottle of wine over dinner. I'm tired, I go to bed. Yes. That's it. That's the end of the story. Yes. It's lovely. But I mean, even people also should be aware from a health point of view. And they're now saying that drink should carry health warnings as cigarettes do.
Yes.
And I think that's a very worthwhile kind of development.
Yes, well, there are government guidelines on how many units per week a male and a female should not exceed. And the point is, for example, for a female it's 14. That doesn't mean all in one night.
No.
That means spread out evenly
over the week.
throughout the 7 days of the
Then,
week.
of course, we have the other area of drugs, illegal drugs.
Yes.
Is it on the rise in your area? What way are we?
Drugs, I think, are on the rise in general in Northern Ireland.
Oh my God.
For many years, as opposed to possibly certain inner cities in the mainland, we didn't have the same problem, but drugs are creeping into Northern Ireland.
Are there people within Northern Ireland who are prospering as a consequence of selling these things? Big time prospering.
I'm quite sure there are. I'm quite sure there are. And we would ask if anyone out there knows of anyone who is in the business of dealing drugs, that they would contact ourselves or contact the confidential telephone line.
That 101 is a good one.
Well, 101 is our non-emergency number.
Not
now.
a bad one to make the call to if you know something.
Absolutely.
Because drugs are ruining lives.
Yes, and many people are afraid to call in with information. If that's you, you can call confidentially on the confidential telephone line. Your details will not be disclosed, but yet we still get the information that we can act on.
That's important. Right, that's all good. Michaela Wilson, Constable. Yes. What an honourable title, to be a constable.
Very much indeed, yes.
A member of the PSNI. Thank you very much indeed for coming in.
Thank you for having me, Ron.
And we wish you good luck. Give your boss, David Beck, our fond regards.
I will
and we
indeed.
play you some music now.
Lovely.
Andrew.
Thank you.